sports.
We are the Fourth. We are South.
For the final time on a Friday night in Atlanta, it's time for Braves baseball. We finish up the regular season schedule with a weekend set here at Turner Field against the 100-win St. Louis Cardinals. A lot of former friends and mates meet before the ball game tonight. Jason Hayward not in the lineup as Mike Matheny rests many of his Cardinal regulars. Hi again, friends. Chip and Joe, welcome to the ballpark. Braves are playing good ball. They just took 2 out of 3 from the Washington Nationals. And for Atlanta, this is a real benchmark series. To see where they want to go, they've got to beat a team as good as the St. Louis Cardinals. And their starting pitcher tonight, whose name is blank.
I'm going to say Jaime Garcia.
You would be correct, sir. Jaime Garcia it is.
Okay, Jaime Garcia is pretty darn good. Left-hander, and while he didn't get to start the season on the active list, he has come back with a vengeance. He's coming off arguably his best start of the year. You're seeing action here against Milwaukee. 8 innings, gave up 1 run, no walks, struck out 8 batters. He's got a good back foot slider to the right-handers, a good sinker. He's got really good stuff, 10-5. And his ERA, with a minimum of 100 innings pitched, he is 4th in the National League with that ERA. But he's going against a guy who has been very good lately himself, and that's Julio Teheran. Julio's best month of the year is going on, or just finished, I should say, in September, where he was 1-1 with a 1.91 ERA. Julio has returned to form. He's looking for his 11th win tonight. His last 5 starts, there are the numbers. 4 quality starts out of those 5. And he's got pretty good numbers against the Cardinals, although he's only faced them 1 or 2 times in his career. Should be a good matchup tonight of 2 hot pitchers.
Julio Teheran and A.J. Przinsky, the Braves battery. Let's see if Julio can blank the Cardinals in Game 1 of the weekend set. Beautiful night. Glad you're with us. The Braves and Redbirds get things started right after this.
Outdoors, right stuff, low price every day.
The rain has stopped in Atlanta this evening. Many of the Cardinal regulars are out of the lineup. Matt Carpenter, who's having a terrific season. Class act. Take some time for the legion of Cardinal fans who've made their way to Atlanta for Game 1 of the weekend series. The Redbirds run into a red-hot Julio Teheran, who seeks his 11th victory of the season. And, Joe, it really is a tale of two seasons for the Braves right-hander.
And that July-September, I guess, demarcation was really when he went back to using his four-seamer more, less of that two-seamer. He started becoming the power pitcher that we're accustomed to, and you can see what a difference in an ERA and batting average against has made for him and why he's gotten to double digits in wins. His 4 keys to pitching success tonight, well, it's the walks, and they came back to bite him again in his last start in Miami when he got beat 6-2. He only gave up 2 runs, but he walked 4 guys. One of those was intentional. Try not to walk as many tonight. And leadoff hitters, this Cardinal ball club, even without some of their regulars, leading off innings, doesn't have to be the leadoff hitter, but leading off innings, they're very good at getting that first guy on base and making something happen.
And Joe's right. It is a very different looking Cardinal lineup tonight. They have won 100 ball games, but they haven't really had a chance to rest many of their regular players. So they've got some bench guys in there for Game 1 tonight. Tommy Pham is the man leading off. He's the St. Louis center fielder. Greg Garcia is at second. Randall Grichuk in left. Adams, Reynolds, Moss. Tony Cruz in for an injured Yadier Molina behind the plate. Pete Cosmas the shortstop. And of course Jaime Garcia is on the hill for the Cardinals. Braves played St. Louis tough in late July. They dropped 2 out of 3 games in St. Louis. They lost 4-2, 1-0, and won a 3-2 game against Mike Matheny's Cardinals. So we'll see how things turn out tonight on a cool, breezy night. Wind blowing straight in here at Turner Field. It's been a very gray last couple of days in Metro Atlanta. And Teheran's first splits the plate, and we're underway. Mark Rippiger has the dish, and strike 1 to the Cardinal leadoff man.
Tommy Pham's out of Las Vegas, has worked his way up through the minors. 6'1", 175, back-to-back good years at AAA. This year he hit .327 before getting called up. Good speed, can steal some bases, but obviously not their normal leadoff hitter.
And of course Matt Carpenter, as Pham pops this one up towards second base, and the play made there by Daniel Castro, and there's out number 1. So here's Greg Garcia. He was called up in late August. Garcia had a good year going for the Redbirds at Memphis. He hit .294 down there. Garcia playing second base tonight. And that's off the plate. 1 ball, no strikes.
2 starts in his career against the Cardinals. He's 0-1. Good ERA, .277. And he's come out throwing strikes.
Garcia quite a find for the Cardinals, a 7th round pick 5 years ago. Tough duty. Played shortstop at the University of Hawaii. He was a teammate with Colton Wong. And his granddad is Davy Garcia, the former Angels and Indians manager.
Is that right?
Yep.
Well, I need to talk to that young man. He's got good genes.
His grandpa Dave was from East St. Louis, Illinois, right across the river from the Gateway Arch. And that's up and away for Greg Garcia. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Sharply hit and into right center field. A hit for Greg Garcia. Big turnaround first. Ball bobbled. He'll make second with 1 out. It is so refreshing to see young players break out of the batter's box and think about an extra base in case there's a misplay, and Garcia took advantage and is aboard with 1 out.
And make no mistake, the grass, even though it's not raining, is damp, so the ball is going to skip off of it. It's going to hydroplane. You can see how far Cameron Maybin slid over to try to block that ball. And it's chilly. High today, I think, in Atlanta was 61. I don't know what it is now. About the same. And the wind blowing in.
And up and in to Randal Grichuk, who came over from the Angels with Peter Burgess for David Freese and Fernando Salas. That was after the 2013 season. And Grichuk's had a terrific year. That one's popped back our way. Foul. 1 ball, 1 strike. Grichuk hitting .276, 17 home runs. He's knocked in 47, 21 doubles and 7 triples.
They're just happy to get him back. He had an elbow injury that put him on the disabled list. He missed 18 games.
Check swing. There's a break right to first. Easy play for Swisher. Runner to third, 2 outs. So Grichuk's retired. Matt Adams will be the hitter. Here's the defense behind Julio Teheran, presented by CPI Security. You saw Cameron Maybin slipping and sliding in center. He's flanked by Bourne and Markakis in the outfield. Freddie Freeman's not going to start a game this weekend. He might pinch hit or come in defensively late. The wrist's still a problem. And former Cardinal A.J. Pierzynski is back behind the plate. Here's another injured Cardinal that they're happy to have back. Big Matt Adams, who missed 91 games with a quad problem that required surgical repair.
Yeah, that's not a strained quad. That's a torn quadricep muscle.
One ball, no strikes. And that paints a corner, even count. As you look up and down this Cardinal lineup, and as we go through the night, there's some players that they acquired via trade, obviously. But a lot of these Redbirds are homegrowners, and they're not all first-round picks. Adams falls into that category. He was a 23rd round draft selection. Player number 699 picked in the draft in '09. And here he is playing first base for a division championship club. 2 balls, 1 strike. And lofted toward left. That's playable for Bourne near the line, and in fair ground he makes the play, and that retires the side. Julio pitches around a 1-out double. Jaime Garcia to work in a scoreless first. And Friday night fireworks. Julio Teheran got out of the first inning with no trouble. Let's see what the Braves bats can do in game 1 tonight. Michael Bourne will lead off for Atlanta. Daniel Castro will hit and play second base. Nick Markakis, Adonis Garcia, who hit his first homer as a Brave against the Cardinals in St. Louis. AJ, Cameron Maben, Swisher, Simmons, and Tehran, the lower third. And a real tough customer in Jaime Garcia. He's healthy, and that may not be good news for the rest of the National League.
Well, that's been the problem for the Cardinals, is keeping this guy on the field, because he is an outstanding pitcher. Last 11 starts, 7-1 with a 2.64 ERA and only 1 home run allowed in those 11 starts, and just 5 all year in 125 innings. He's got a fastball that sits 87 to 91 and cuts it a lot. He's got an excellent changeup and a slider to go with it. How about this career mark? 52 and 31 already in his career. This is his 7th year.
Not bad for a 22nd round draft pick.
Right.
Keeping with the theme of the Cardinals' offensive inning. And he'll face Michael Bourne to get things started. Michael at 218, but arguably the hottest Braves hitter right now. Is that one missed low? 1 ball, no strikes. Swing and a miss, and an even count. Garcia's out of Reynosa, Mexico. Just turned 29 years of age. Or didn't get that. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
He started the year missing 40 games with thoracic outlet syndrome surgery. He also was on the DL from late June to late July with a left groin injury.
And he rallied to take care of Michael Bourne with something off speed. 1 up, 1 down as Bourne strikes out.
They have had a ton of leg injuries throughout their ball club. There's a breaking ball, took a little off, had him out front. Good start for Garcia.
Daniel Castro hitting 241. I think it's safe to say Daniel's played himself into a very long look in spring training, and quite possibly a utility role with the Braves in 2016.
Yeah, I think barring just a bad spring training, he's got an excellent chance to make the team next year.
One ball, 2 strikes. That pitch was well off the plate at 91, but as we've talked about with regards to the Braves starters, can be such an effective pitch for Garcia. See if it opens up the outside corner. He tried, and it's fouled away at the plate.
Well, everything he throws to right-handers, he either wants a back foot slider or he wants the sinker, the sinking action to get a ground ball, have them reaching for it. And his fastball, which he's not going to throw that many 4-seamers unless he gets behind in the count. And it's still stiff enough, Ryan Weber like, that he can get away with it.
Swing and a miss by Castro, and the throw to first retires him. 2 up, 2 down.
Shook off 2 signs from Tony Cruz, went to the slider, and it was a good one. Cruz looks like the guy right now behind the plate for the Cardinals, unless they can get Yadier Molina back. Molina has a bad thumb, kind of like what Christian Bethancourt went through after tagging a runner and getting his left thumb jammed. They are not the same team without Molina.
Base is empty for Nick Markakis, hitting .295. And a high hopper to the right side. Tricky hop. Adams stayed with it and led Garcia errantly. The ball off the pitcher's glove, and Markakis aboard with 2 outs.
Led him a little too much. Ball did hit the edge of the grass, which caused it to stay down, but plenty of time to recover on the toss. Cardinals in the lower third of the league in defense in terms of errors. They've committed 94. Compare that to Atlanta's 88.
And the error is charged to the pitcher Garcia. Hit him right in the glove. So Markakis at first with 2 outs, and Adonis Garcia will be the hitter. Adonis with 8 homers. His first as a Brave came against the Cardinals July 26th against Michael Wacha.
Interesting that the 3 teams with the best records in baseball in the Central Division, the Cardinals, the Pirates, the Cubs, are all in the bottom 5 defensively in terms of errors in the National League. Pirates have made the most in the league, 119.
I would imagine the great bulk of those from Pedro Alvarez. He's had trouble at first base for Pittsburgh. But yeah, that is odd. If pitching and defense and winning games go hand in hand, those 3 teams are certainly questioning that adage. No balls at a strike for Garcia. And the corner missed inside, even count.
Of course, the Cardinals already know that they are in the postseason. They have won the division, and they will host the winner of the wild card game between Pittsburgh and Chicago. Right now, just a matter of where that game will be played.
2 games separate the Cubs and Pirates for the top spot in the wild card.
It's Jason Hayward. Good to see him back in town. This is the first day that Matheny's had a chance to rest his regulars. I mean, it's hard to believe that with 100 wins that they didn't clinch until 2 days ago and had a day off yesterday.
Little pop toward Pete Kozma at short. He's got it, and that will retire the side. Braves can't capitalize on a pitcher's error, and we head to the second. No score. As we head to the second, time for the Home Depot tools from the dugout. Braves have a very young pitching staff again this season, and most wins before the age of 25.
That's a very select company when he's right there with Kevin Millwood and John Smoltz. The thing when I saw this graphic was how awesome Steve Avery was before age 25 to have that much separation between himself and John Smoltz. Amazing.
I never would have guessed that either.
No.
That Steve would have been, first of all, at the top of that list, but as you mentioned, by such a large margin.
Man, was he good.
Hope Steve's doing great. Saw him during the alumni weekend festivities here in Atlanta. Hopefully we'll see him again next year as Mark Reynolds pops one into the missed foul and out of play, strike one.
This guy was a valuable pickup for their bench beginning of the season. He's a high strikeout guy and always has been. But boy, he can give you some immediate pop off the bench too. He's hit 13 homers for them in limited time. And as you can see from that swing, there's pretty much only one thing on his mind when he's up there.
Cardinals are the 6th team for Mark Reynolds. Played college ball at Virginia. And he didn't get a face-high fastball, and he is struck out. First of those for Julio Teheran tonight. And boy, you're right about Reynolds. 37, 32, 44. A couple of his big home run seasons earlier in his career while with the Diamondbacks. And Baltimore too. To go along with 204, 223, 211, and 196 strikeouts.
Yeah. Take the bad with the good.
Here's Brandon Moss. The Cardinals were desperate for some offense with Adams out, with Holiday hurting. They went and got Brandon Moss from the Indians, where he had 15 homers. And this one's hit toward right, and that's going to get down in front of Nick Markakis, and Moss on his way to second. And he'll stand there with a one-out double, his 6th with St. Louis.
It's rare that you can make an acquisition from a ball club and get their leading home run hitter at the time, and I think he was 1st or 2nd in RBIs for their club. You're not usually able to go get that guy. The Cardinals did. Another solid bat.
Who can play a multitude of positions and could be a very big bat off the bench from the left side in late inning situations for the Cardinals. So here's Tony Cruz, Cardinal catcher at 204, 2 homers, 11 RBIs. He started 12 of the last 14 games in place of an injured Yadier Molina. AJ got to the baseball, slipped and fell, and it rolled to the backstop by the Braves on deck circle, and Moss takes 3rd on that play.
Moss had stopped, but AJ looked up right here to see if he had stopped at second base or stayed at second base, and his feet went right out from under him. Pass ball is a scoring.
So Cruz a chance to bring home the first run, infield in for the Braves. And a strike. Molina's injury is a partially torn thumb ligament on his catching thumb. It's doubtful he's going to play this weekend. The National League portion of the playoffs would start for the Cardinals, what, in about a week?
A week from today.
So he's hoping that medical treatment and Mother Nature is going to allow him to play in their first round matchup against either the Cubs or the Pirates. And I agree with you. They're not the same without one of the best catchers ever, Yadier Molina.
You know, and in defense of Tony Cruz, he actually career-wise has a better base stealing, caught stealing ratio than even Molina. It's just from a leadership standpoint, and that guy behind the plate that is so solid. Platinum glove winner. He's not the same guy.
Two balls, 2 strikes for Tony Cruz. To second, Castro's coming home on contact, and an easy peg to the plate. That takes care of Moss. Infield in, save the Braves there. 2 outs.
Great reactions by Castro. Kept his momentum coming to the plate. Put a lot on the throw, and AJ there with the tag. Nice job defensively by Atlanta.
So Cruz at first. Pete Kozma is in the batter's box. Kozma is a former first-round draft pick for the Redbirds. That was in 2007. And he lines to second, and Castro flags that down. A double wasted by the Cardinals for the second consecutive inning. We head to the home half. No score.
Delta Airlines and your local Ford dealer.
No score. We head to the Atlanta's second. Let's take a look at the Cardinals defensive lineup. This is not the lineup you will see when they begin their playoff series against either the Cubs or Pirates. But you'll have Grichuk, Pham, and Moss in the outfield. Adams, Garcia, Kozma, Reynolds around the horn. Cruz and Garcia is the Cardinal battery.
I suspect you'll see the regulars back in there tomorrow and Sunday.
Do you?
Yeah, because they've got 5 days between Sunday and their first game, and you'll want to have those guys get some live action here. I expect to see at least half of them back in there tomorrow, maybe the other half on Sunday.
Yeah, it was a good discussion you and Tommy were having about that last night. It really is a delicate balance, rest versus rust, and how much time do you want to give obviously tired players at this time of year with just 3 games left on the schedule. So we'll see how Mike Matheny plays it. Braves are playing it straight up, giving some of their players some valuable late season experience against a real good team. What a year AJ Pierzynski's had. 300 batting average. And this one's popped out towards second. That'll be easy, and AJ's retired for out number 1.
The Cardinals jumped out to a huge lead early in the season. I think it was double digits at one time. So they were never under the gun. And when they had all these injuries crop up, they had a buffer there that they were able to absorb it. Well, things turned around after the All-Star break. The Pirates got hot, and the Cubs got hot, where all of a sudden they were under the gun a little bit, and they've had to play all the regulars quite extensively since then. So this rest, yesterday, the day off, and today, a welcome sight for them.
And the same thing we talked about with the Nationals. Although Washington's not going to the playoffs, the valuable experience those secondary players got with those injuries really is going to serve them well in a week. As Cameron takes a ball, 2 balls, no strikes. And the Cardinals had a 9-game lead after they played the Cubs on June 28th. That lead trickled down to 2.5 games at the start of play July 17th. And the closest anybody got to the St. Louis club was again 2.5 games on September 12th.
Nice to have a big lead built up in case some things go haywire physically.
In the air toward right, Moss is there and makes the play. Maven flies out. 2 up, 2 down for Nick Swisher.
So, and when Friday rolls around and they play whichever one of those teams, they still are going to have some question marks. I asked Matt Holliday today before the game, I said, how you feeling? He goes, I'm getting there. I'm getting pretty close, meaning I'm still not 100%. So they're going to need him in the lineup. He's going to have to play, obviously, in the postseason. The same with Adams at first, if he's on the postseason roster, and Molina, Adam Wainwright, who they're hoping will be ready to go. And then Piscotty, who they had relied on so much and had been so good. Stephen Piscotty got hurt in that collision with Borges the other day in Pittsburgh. Don't know when he'll be back.
1 ball, no strikes for Swisher. Talking to the Cardinal people about that collision, they said it's a miracle he didn't break his neck.
I watched it and I kept watching replays. I don't know how he didn't. 2 outfielders going for the ball and both had been racing to the gap.
Right away for Nick. 3 balls, no strikes. With Andrelton Simmons waiting on deck. That went in for a strike. Well, one advantage the Cardinals will have is whether it's the Cubs or the Pirates, they're going to know that club they play. St. Louis played 19 games in divisional play against both the Cubs and Pirates, so there really ought not be any mysteries.
No secrets.
And they just got finished, as you said, playing the Pirates, so they know how they're playing, they know how they're set up, and the same is true for their opponent if it's Pittsburgh.
And they saw Cole and they saw Liriano,
right.
The top 2 for the Pirates.
Little high, and Swisher walks. That's the second Braves base runner. Markakis reached on an error. Swisher aboard with a walk, and here is that awful collision at PNC Park Monday.
I mean, Piscotty's head went right into the knee of Borges, and he was out. So fortunate that it wasn't more serious than just a bad bruise.
Sharply hit by Simmons to left on the first pitch. First hit of the game for the Braves. 2 on and 2 out for Julio Teheran. I watched the postgame interviews from Pittsburgh, and Borges was, of course, asked about the play. He said, I think we were both calling for it, but it was so loud that he couldn't hear me and I couldn't hear him.
Yeah, it was right in front of those stands in left field at PNC Park. That's understandable.
So let's see if Julio can help himself. He's 5 for 50 at the plate. Swisher, the lead runner at second, Simmons at first. Outfield shortens up for Teheran, who drives it towards center. And Pham is there, and that will retire the side. Julio put a charge into the ball, but he's retired, so are the Braves, and we head to the 3rd inning. timeless moment. Hard to believe it was 5 years ago that the Braves honored Bobby Cox in his final season as the Braves skipper. 2,194 wins with the Braves, 15 division titles, of course the 95 World Series. And we were all just shaking our heads. It doesn't seem possible that was 5 years ago.
Not a chance. Crazy.
Saw Bobby at the ballpark here yesterday. Looked terrific. He was at Turner Field for John Capolella's introductory press conference after being named the new general manager for the ball club.
It's always good to see Bobby at the ballpark, and it's funny how he draws a crowd. Everybody just starts migrating to whatever office or room he might be in at the time.
Special man. So Jaime Garcia leads off for the Cardinals in the third inning. He's a 4 for 40 hitter this season for the Redbirds. 1 ball, no strikes. Bell tie and a strike. Hoping the weather will cooperate the rest of the weekend here in Atlanta. It certainly isn't cooperating up east, is it?
No.
And that's going to present some problems, especially for the New York Mets. Their game with the Nationals was rained out today. And why, you might ask, well, they've won the division. Why is that game important? Well, the Mets and Dodgers are in a fight for home field advantage in their playoff series.
I read a story today that said that if they were not able to complete the 162 game schedule, that would be decided by winning percentage, whichever team had the best winning percentage.
Well, they both have 89 and 70 records.
Right.
Swing and a miss. There's out number 1. Garcia's retired. Don't know the answer to this. Wonder what the head-to-head record is.
The Mets have the advantage.
The Mets have the advantage?
Yes.
So if they finish
any tie,
identical records, maybe that's what they'd go to. Makes sense. Baltimore rained out with the Yankees. Phillies and Marlins rained out at Citizens Bank. And we're hoping to avoid a deluge here Saturday and Sunday.
And the Reds are trying to snap their 12-game losing streak. They're at Pittsburgh and beating them already 4-0 in the third inning. That's significant.
Pham to short, throw to first, 2 outs.
Because the Cubs still have a chance to catch them for home field advantage in the wild card, and the Cubs are at Milwaukee. No score in the first.
Pittsburgh 96 wins, the Cubs 94 wins.
That would be interesting. Need to find out who has the upper hand in that on a
Cubs and Pirates head to head
tie record.
Here's Garcia, and Julio missed up and away. 1 ball, no strikes. In the air to right, and right at Markakis, and he's got it, and that will retire the side. The Cubs have the season series advantage over the Pirates, and no advantage yet tonight.
Miami Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price, every day.
No score in Atlanta. Let's see if the second time through the order works magic for the Atlanta Ball Club on a chilly night. Michael Bourne, as we said, the hottest hitter on the club. Here's why: our Georgia lottery hitting the jackpot.
10-game hitting streak for Michael, 364 average. And what's happened during this streak is that he's finally found some holes. His line drives are beginning to drop a little bit, so that's really helped. A lot of tough luck early in his return to Atlanta.
Jaime Garcia struck him out his first time swinging. There's the bunt try. It's fouled back. 0-1. As you look at the Cardinals, partner, how do you like their starting rotation? A rotation that doesn't have Adam Wainwright and doesn't have Carlos Martinez now. He's out with a bad shoulder. First, the ground ball to short. And Bourne's retired. There's the first out.
It's good, and it's solid, and it has been all year long. With Waka, Lynn, Lackey, and this guy, they've got enough depth, and they certainly have proven that over the course of the year with the best ERA among starters in the National League and in the top 5 in some other key categories. It's amazing they don't give up any more home runs than they do. This guy certainly contributes to that, having allowed only 5. I wouldn't call their ballpark a pitcher's ballpark by any means.
Especially in the heat of the summer.
Right.
As Castro takes a strike. And how big of a wild card is Adam Wainwright going to be for them?
Well, he's huge. And he's not going to start, but getting him in the bullpen with what he brings to the table. He's already had one outing in Pittsburgh.
That ball's driven down the line and left. Did he get enough? At the track, at the wall, it's gone. Daniel Castro hits it out.
Once again, someone tried to pitch him in. Is he quick in there? The smile on his face. I don't blame him. Look how he got his hands in there. Woo! Pulled his hands in to get the barrel to it, and then it jumped.
So Castro's second home run gives the Braves a 1-0 lead in the 3rd inning.
Just talking about the lack of home runs hit off the Cardinals, and only the 6th hit off Garcia. And Castro touches him up.
Home run number 97 for the Braves. They would love to get into triple digits. It's been a long time since they've been held below 100 in a season. And an early lead for Julio Teheran.
Watch this. We talk about getting your hands inside the baseball. He almost has to pull him into his belt to get that barrel through. Thing of beauty there.
So Markakis hits with 2 strikes. And Cruz a nice stop. It's 1-2. You mentioned Adam Wainwright.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
The plan is he's supposed to pitch an inning tonight. Right, weather permitting, and an inning on Sunday.
Correct.
Those are the last 2 outings, obviously, in regular season play for him.
Correct. I talked to him before the game. He's feeling great. He's not even walking around with a brace on his ankle or anything. He'll certainly pitch with one of some kind, or certainly heavily wrapped from the Achilles tear. But he was throwing 93, according to reports in Pittsburgh, and felt good. You know, it's hard right now this time of year with all the minor leagues finished for the year. You can't go out and do a rehab. You've got to do all your work against your teammates or in the bullpen.
So Wainwright, who just turned 34, has pitched in the World Series out of the bullpen. That was in 2006 for the Cardinals, you might recall. So it's not a totally unfamiliar scenario.
No, not at all. And he got, I think, the save. I mean, he was outstanding because Isringhausen was hurt, and that's what prompted them to put him in the bullpen and be the closer, and he did a great job.
Now the advantage for the Cardinals this year is they have no such closer problems, not with Trevor Rosenthal.
I can't imagine that they're thinking of Adam in terms of, you know, a 1 or 2 inning stint. I would guess that the middle of an inning to come in against some right-handed hitters, come in and try and blow a couple of guys away, do his thing, be a very valuable asset. But that will be determined next week when they're putting their roster together, if they're comfortable using him. And they've got some tough decisions to make.
Which is the sign of a real good ball club, when you have too many good players and not enough roster spots.
Well, and my thought is about these injuries. Are these guys going to be able to play? It's a short series. It's a best of 5, and you can change again if you advance.
Sharply hit, and Kozma can't get that. Garcia spanked that ball into left field. And 3 straight Braves have reached. Castro's homer, Markakis a single. And now Garcia with a solid shot.
I think Kozma got a little greedy here. I think he underestimated how hard this ball was hit. Another pitch up, and Adonis hit it hard, but he was already beginning to kind of position his body like he was ready to go back to second with the throw, and didn't reach it.
And that's a hit for Garcia. 2 on, 1 out for A.J. Pierzynski. He drives that one to right field. Moss can't get that. That's going to bounce high off the fence. Markakis getting green lighted. Here he comes to the plate. Throw toward Cruz is late. A.J. Pierzynski doubles home the second Atlanta run. It's 2-0.
Another double for A.J. He's racking them up and moving up the doubles chart among catchers. And another pitch upstairs by Jaime Garcia, this time a breaking ball to a left-handed hitter. Markakis able to just get in there because he had to wait, make sure that ball was over Moss's head, and everybody else was climbing up his back.
So 2 runs on 5 hits for the Braves, and Cameron Maybin's the batter. He flied out to right, his first and only time up. 4 straight Braves hits in the inning.
The comments I was making a minute ago, the decisions they've got to make is, you know, if they put Molina on the roster, on the active roster for that 5-game series, how much can he play? How much is he ready to play?
Well, and let's look at it from the Braves' perspective.
Holiday in his leg. Can he play the outfield?
Well, let's start with Molina. We saw last night Christian Bethancourt, 1 swing, re-aggravated the thumb.
Right.
Had to come out of the game. Same thing could happen with Molina, or an awkward catch on a fastball.
Oh, right, a sinker or something.
Right.
Yeah.
1 ball, 1 strike. And Maybin couldn't stop his swing. It's 1-2. And your point about Holiday, that's a great call.
I watched him run to first the other day in Pittsburgh, and there is a noticeable favoritism to that bad quad.
Taken low, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
And I would guess that they're trying to nurse him through that. Like, if he does put the ball in play, don't run hard. You know, if you hit a home run, we're going to be happy. But if you hit a ground ball back to the pitcher, take it easy.
That bent around the outside corner. Maybin didn't think so. He thought it was in the left-hand batter's box. 3rd strikeout for Garcia. And Maybin gets his 2 cents worth. And might have a case.
Well, Mark Rippinger called the third strike, but you could see that it looked like Cruz was almost crossed up. He was about to jump outside to catch that ball when it started coming back in. And that number 5 is the pitch in question here. It was close, but not a strike.
So 3 strikeouts for Garcia. 2 runs are in for the Braves on 4 hits. And Nick Swisher, the batter, he walked with 2 outs in the second for the Braves. Bourne grounded out to short to start the inning. Castro hit a homer down the left field line. Markakis a single. Garcia a single. A.J. Pierzynski with a double to right. Runners are at second and third after Maben's strikeout. And now Swisher, the batter. Oh and 2. Driven towards center. Fan going back. He got there. A fine running catch. Swisher hit that ball right on the button. And he's 0 for 1. But the Braves score a couple of runs on 4 third-inning hits. They jump in front of Jaime Garcia. That's good news for Julio Teheran. 2-0 Braves.
That 2-run inning. Andre Aldridge here with you. And Adonis, in his last 15 games, he was hitting .368, and that's in spot duty. So maybe that's even more impressive than just getting up there and hitting. Now, Adonis told me that the reasons behind that is because he feels very comfortable right now, and that comfort level is adding to his confidence. Also said he doesn't feel like he's in competition with his fellow Cuban, Hector Olivera, and being able to lean on Latin teammates like Julio Teheran, Daniel Castro, and Pedro Siriaco has been very beneficial to his progress, guys. Talked to him for a long time, and I got to give a hat tip to Siriaco for being my translator while I kept peppering him with questions.
Like you were getting peppered with something down there, too.
You know, I have a good relationship with most everybody in the clubhouse, but they feel it's their duty to get sunflower seeds and other things, Shelby Miller, bubble gum my way when I'm talking, and they think it's impressive that I don't stop talking.
I've been impressed.
Yeah. Now it's still wrapped bubble gum. That,
that'll help.
Right?
Otherwise, it would stick in his hair.
Right. It is wrapped bubble gum. And Chip, you can appreciate this. You know, I can get on the verbal cul-de-sac as well as any broadcaster. So it's not getting hit in the head that's going to stop me. It's just that I don't know how to stop talking, man.
The verbal cul-de-sac.
I like it.
Very nice.
I have to keep that one in the back pocket. That's done. Grichuk down on strikes. One away in the fourth. Third strikeout for Julio.
That was a good conversation I'm sure you had with Adonis, though, and the fact that he has been comfortable here. I don't know what his experience was like with the Yankee organization. I'm sure that he had some fellow Latinos over there too, but he's had some fellow Cubans to talk to here. That certainly went a long way for him, I'm sure.
Adams to right. That's easy. 2 outs. And let's face it, we've talked a lot about the lack of power the Braves have this year. Garcia's hit 8 home runs. He's hit about 270, 280 for the club. Defensively, he's had his problems at third base, but that doesn't mean he can't play left or right.
You know what? I was talking to Brian Snitker today about that, about his defense. And correct me if I'm wrong. I know he had one that went right through his legs. Okay, yeah. That happens. It shouldn't, but it does. Most of his errors and mistakes have been going to his left, and usually on double play balls where he was either too anxious to get it to second base, bobbled it, was kind of shuffling his feet to get it to second, and his last night was already moving that way and launched it over Peterson's head. Maybe that's just one area that he's got to work on, because everything else has been pretty solid.
Or, yes, I agree with you, but also recognize who's the man playing to your left.
Yeah.
You got the best defensive shortstop in the league. Maybe let some of those balls get handled by Andrelton Simmons.
Again, that diving play he made on Worth in Washington was as good as we've seen at third base this year by anybody.
That's a strike to Reynolds. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Good change up.
Julio's pitching great again at home. And he's been terrific the last 8 or 9 outings. This is the Julio Teheran we thought we'd see from the opening bell and on a consistent basis.
The swing of Mark Reynolds, he's been in the big leagues a long time, but it reminds you a little bit of Chris Bryant, the odds-on rookie of the year for the Cubs. How his top hand comes off and it's kind of a long sweeping bottom hand swing, but very powerful. Very similar. Bryant strikes out a lot too, by the way.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Base is empty for Reynolds. And same pitch that got him in the second gets him in the fourth. Shutdown inning for Julio Teheran, who's due second for the Braves. He's got a 2-0 advantage. Nothing Braves as we hit the home fourth. We hope you'll join us tomorrow, October 3rd. We pink out Turner Field in the fight against breast cancer. The first 10,000 fans will get a pink foam tomahawk brought to you by Wellstar. For more information on pinking out Turner Field, visit Braves.com.
We're going to have our pink ties on tomorrow. We're going to have our pink tomahawks working.
Yep.
That's what they'll be giving away tomorrow. So be here for that.
And maybe tomorrow night's the night that Shelby Miller gets a win.
Perfect timing, because it's the next start.
Right, we're only saying that for 3 months.
Yeah.
But Shelby's going to pitch against the Cardinals tomorrow. John Lackey will pitch for the Cardinals. Really admire John Lackey. We'll talk more about this tomorrow night. But he's a man of his word. He had a clause in his contract with the Red Sox. If he had any kind of Tommy John problem, the option year in his deal would be for the league minimum. That's what he's pitching for the Cardinals this year. This is an established, big-time, big-game starter. And he hasn't said a word about being undercompensated. Really respect that. Simmons skies one out of play into the mist and foul to the right side. He's 1 for 1 tonight.
And he's had another good year, 13-9 with a 2.69 ERA.
All the big names in free agency. Don't hear John Lackey's name an awful lot. And Andrelton didn't get that. He is struck out. And there's the first out of the home fourth. Julio Teheran, the batter.
Tom Glavine weighed in on our conversation about injured players and who do you keep if you're the Cardinals, and his suggestion was you keep Molina and carry a third catcher because you don't need as many pitchers in a 5-game series. I thought that made sense, and I agree with Tom. I don't know how you can't keep that guy active, even if it's just in the hopes that he's going to be okay. And certainly it's not for his offense, it's just for his defense and his leadership ability.
I believe Travis Tartamella is the third catcher on the Cardinal roster.
What a hook.
And Julio's down on strikes. That's back-to-back punch-outs for Garcia. After a rough third inning, he's gotten the first 2 rather easily here in the home 4th inning. And back to the top, Michael Bourne, who struck out and grounded out tonight. One ball, no strikes for Michael. Couple more runs sure would be nice. The Cardinals all year long have been a gritty, resilient team, not just with injuries, but with their ability to overcome deficits. 44 of their 100 wins this year have been after they trailed at one point in the game.
I know that Garcia hasn't thrown that many innings this year. Came in with 125, but he's been pitching so beautifully. 8 innings, 7 hits, 1 run, no walks, 8 strikeouts his last time out. 7-1 over his last 11 starts coming in. You kind of wonder how many innings will he pitch tonight? Or, is this just kind of a stay fresh, stay sharp type outing, or will they let him pitch deep in the game? We'll see.
And I assume that would factor into how he slots in rotation. Where would he pitch? If he's their 3rd or 4th guy, then it'll be a long time before he pitches again.
Yeah, they don't need 5 starters in a 5-game series, that's for sure.
But he could pitch out of the pen.
Yeah, and Tommy reminded us too that Bobby Cox always carried 3 catchers in the postseason. And Tommy, by the way, Tommy's here. We're just not letting him talk tonight. He's in the back of the booth, and we'll speak to him when we want.
Bourne walks with 2 outs.
I'm kidding.
And the reason you want to carry 3 catchers, obviously, you got a pinch hit, pinch run. You have to have a little backup in case your second guy gets injured or is forced to be knocked out of the ball game. So we'll see how the Cardinals set their roster. Here's Castro. No balls and a strike. Second home run for Daniel came in the Braves' third. Nice stop by Cruz. Something else the Cardinals have done a lot. They do a lot of position to pitcher conversions and other position to catcher conversions. Cruz is one of those. He was a third baseman in the early days of his minor league career. About 8 years ago, they made him a catcher. Oh, here he is. Ripped to right field by Castro. And Bourne gingerly makes his way to third base. Castro has 2 more hits tonight.
How about it? You know, a home run, pulls a home run to left. Off-speed pitch away, kind of slices that thing to right. Change up. Down. First base being occupied. First baseman's holding him on, so there's a little hole over there. Good piece of hitting again by Daniel Castro.
So Nick Markakis, the hitter, looking for his 180th base hit this season. Far and away the team leader in that category. Also with 51 games of 2 hits or better this year. And lined out a play foul. Strike 1. Loved what John Hart had to say about Nick Markakis the other night. Many question why in the world would the Braves, who are embarking on this rebuilding project, give 4 years and $40-some-odd million to Nick Markakis. Well, his numbers are the reason why. He's a professional hitter. And he's anchored this lineup in many different ways, especially with Freddie Freeman's injuries in 2015. And I'm sure he believes, and the Braves are hopeful, that the best is yet to come for Nick Markakis, who had off-season neck surgery and was no sure thing to even play opening day. But he did, and scored the first Atlanta run this year.
I don't think the numbers will be all that much different next year. I just think there's going to be some more extra base hits, and with that some more RBIs depending on where he bats in the batting order. I figure he'll still get 175 to 200 or more hits.
Love the 200 idea. That would be a new career high for Nick.
There'll be a little more power. I think it will also help his throwing, getting a full winter of workouts in.
That's hit toward left. Long run, and the grab made by Grichuk.
So, see, a play like that, I don't know that Matt Holliday can get to that ball right now.
Grichuk did, and it ends the Atlanta fourth. city to city. I'm sure Matt Coney's watching the game tonight. We were having a question about jet airplane travel tonight, and I don't know if we ever got the right answer. And you brought up the question about how do jet planes fly through the rain, and how does the water that goes through the jet engines not stall them or put it out?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a question I have for my pilot friends like Mike McDonald. I know he could, if he were here, he could answer it. Delta pilot for many years.
Brandon Moss, the batter, as he starts the Cardinal fifth. And he tomahawks this baby way up high and foul and into the stands. I mean, that ball was middle of the cap high.
The answer to our question about how long Garcia might pitch is being answered as Matt Belisle, a former Atlanta Brave farmhand, begins to loosen up. They got him from Colorado this year.
Moss, another rocket shot to right, and still an 0-2 count.
Here's the tall Texan.
That's in the dirt for Moss. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Mike Matheny is spoiled with an embarrassment of riches. His starters have won 72 of their 100 games. That means 28 bullpen wins. We showed you how good the Cardinals starting staff has been. When Garcia's out of the game, we'll show you their relief numbers. They're equally impressive. And a shot. Wow, beats the shift. That ball was ripped. And Moss slams on the brakes. He's 2 for 2 and making a bid for postseason play.
I mean, he turned on this one.
Well, the Cardinals, who've done such a great job all year leading off innings, it's their first leadoff man. A pair of former teammates talk about that base hit at first base. Swisher and Moss were together with the Indians this year. Strike 1. Cruz a little late and asks if it was a strike.
Yadier Molina, when he got hurt, was hitting .270. Only 4 homers, but he had 23 doubles, a couple of triples, 4 homers, 61 driven in. Tony Cruz hitting .203.
26th round pick was Cruz out of Santa Luces High School in Lantana, Florida. After being drafted, he moved through 4 levels of the organization in 1 calendar year. That was in 2007. Was a good hitter until he got to Springfield for the first time in 2009. He hit .220 that year. And his average in St. Louis has gone from .262, .254, .203, .200, and .203 at the moment this year. Toward third, that's a fair ball. And Moss on his way to third base. Jose Oquendo will throw up a stop sign. None of the base runners are exactly picking them up and putting them down. The infield must be awfully slick. And Cruz with a double has the Cardinals in business with nobody out.
Another ball hit hard, just past the glove of Adonis. So they get that leadoff guy on and get something going. That's the third double by the second batter in the inning. The others were all with one out. This one is not. Nobody out.
So Pete Cosmo will try to make some contact. He lined out his first time up. Braves 2, Cardinals threatening in the 5th. And Julio missed high. John Jay grabs a bat. It appears he'll pinch it for Garcia next. And now Przinsky out for a chat.
That might have been an indication. There have been a couple of pitches like that this inning of trying to overthrow that breaking ball, trying to throw it too hard, and it's not doing anything.
Two balls and a strike.
Big cut there from a guy who doesn't have a homer this year. Trying to ambush that 2-0 count.
Good fastball, evens it up.
When the bottom line is the infield's back and all he's got to do is play pepper with one of the infielders and he'll get a run in and a guy over. During this stretch of games where Julio's pitched so well since August 1st, Julio's 4-2. The team is 7-4 in those starts.
Payoff pitch for Cosmo. And he lost him. John Jay will hit with the bases loaded. First walk for Julio Teheran. And now Jay stands in. He missed 57 games this year with a left wrist stress reaction.
Ford Keys come to rest here. Leadoff man reaches and a walk in the same inning.
And Julio got ahead of the 30-year-old native of Miami. He, Don Baylor, and Craig Biggio have a lot in common. Entering this season, Jay's been hit by a pitch 49 times over the last 3 years. Not afraid to lean into one. That might be why the wrist problems have popped up.
Could be.
And you know he's itching to get into postseason play. He's reached base in his last 16 postseason games started. That's a new franchise record for the Cardinals. And he hits a comebacker. Teheran's coming home for one. AJ the throw to first. Double play. Just what Julio needed. A 1-2-3 double play. Has runners at second and third with 2 outs.
This was an excellent pitch. He got ahead in the count and then he buzzed him with a fastball and sawed him off. with a nice comebacker. And Julio, very athletic and a good fielding pitcher, started that double play easily.
One more man to get to keep the shutout bid alive. It's Tommy Pham, who's popped out and grounded out. And maybe a little recharge for Julio. Quick strike. After strike one, 3 straight have missed. Right there, full count.
This is where you wouldn't be surprised to see Anderson Simmons say, okay, they'll be running here. Be ready, they'll be running. Just in case that runner at second base is not paying attention, and Tony Cruz would take off running with the runners at second and third only.
Swing and a miss. Julio Teheran pitches out of a bases loaded, nobody out mess. He gets a 1-2-3 double play and a strikeout and sends the game to the home fifth, where the Braves still lead 2-0. Trouble, bases loaded, nobody out, and the Cardinals do not score. Time to remind you of our Toyota Tweet of the Week. The question is, who's been the Braves MVP this season and why? Tweet your response with the hashtag Braves MVP, and your tweet could appear on Braves Live after the game. So we'll get Joe's thoughts on who the Braves MVP might be in a few moments, and we'd like to ask if you're on the A-list. Become a 2016 A-list member today and get exclusive benefits customized to meet your unique needs. SunTrust Park seating priority is still being given to current A-list members. So become one today and get closer to securing your seats for SunTrust Park in 2017. Go to Braves.com/A-list and join the A-list today. So Matt Belle-Isle does take over for Garcia, who went 4 tonight, and Adonis Garcia is the first man to greet him.
They signed him in December as a free agent, signed him to a 1-year deal, been in 33 games and has pitched real well for him. Former 2nd round pick by the Braves out of Austin, Texas.
The Braves traded Belle-Isle to the Reds for Kent Merker.
He was one of those guys, if my recollection is correct, that the Braves got him in the 2nd round because he was hurt in high school as a senior, hurt his knee as I recall, and would have been a surefire 1st round pick. Nobody took him because of the knee injury, and the Braves got him in the 2nd round and got healthy and had a good arm.
Kind of a good fortune that the Braves had with Colby Allard, who had a back problem, and the Braves were able to scoop him up as the Redbirds bring on Travis Tartamella. He's their 3rd string catcher, 2nd string tonight because Molina's unavailable to play. So we'll see how Travis fares as part of the Cardinal battery. 2-2 for Garcia, and a ground ball to short. Cosma's got it. And a perfect throw retires Garcia, 1 man down.
Matt's a big guy, 6'4", 225. Turned 35 in June.
Well, you look at his numbers while with the Rockies, they were really good. Did not have an ERA over 5 at any end of a season for Colorado. 487 last year, 432 in 2013, pitched in 80 games in 2012 with a 3.71 ERA. Woo! But to go from Colorado to St. Louis, he was dancing down Broadway to join this Cardinal ball club. 1 ball, 2 strikes for AJ. He'd be one of my MVPs. AJ Pierzynski.
AJ? Oh yeah, me too. I believe Brian Jordan echoed that earlier tonight on Braves Live.
The rigors of catching every day in the major leagues, or virtually every day in the major leagues, incredibly difficult. Dealing with all the different men who have pitched for the Braves ball club this year, all the Braves debuts, all the major league debuts. AJ's had a terrific season. And he fought that one off to stay alive. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
It's not just on the field either. He's been doing some nursemaiding in the clubhouse too.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't call it a real kind and gentle way.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not afraid to get on anybody.
No.
And he got hit by that pitch, and he'll make his way to first base on a 1-2 count. Thank you very much.
Little gimpy too. Look at him. He's looking in the dugout. He might really want Levy to come out this time.
But he might be the catcher who cried wolf. It's not going to be Levy who's coming out. Look at TP and Levy. They're trying not to laugh.
Well, he did cry wolf the other night. He had
Right.
Levy come out and basically told him, you know, would you tuck my shirt in for me? This one didn't hit just shirt. That got him right on the knee. And when speed is part of your game.
I was going to say, when a speedster gets hit, they usually like to steal a base early in the count. I think AJ's just trying to make sure the kneecap's still in place. No balls and a strike for Cameron Maben, who was called out in a questionable third strike back in the third inning. And low and away, even count. Cameron's had a nice year in a Braves uniform. 10 homers, 58 RBIs. He's been one of the better clutch hitters with runners in scoring position in the league this year. Joe mentioned earlier in the week he's been playing hurt with a sore shoulder. And this ball's hit towards center. Pham's going to catch that. And there's the second out. AJ back to first.
We'll see how that feels when he has to get into his catcher's crouch at the top of the next inning.
That's what AJ told us after the game the other night. He said, "Hey, Lovey, I just need to get you some more TV time." Lovey will tell you he prefers to be the Maytag repairman. Nick Swisher will turn around and hit left-handed. He's walked and flied out.
Braves sure have it good when it comes to the training staff all through that area. Jeff Porter, Jim Lovell, Lloyd Van Pamplin. It's a great group.
It's getting a little wetter here at the ballpark, by the way.
It's an official contest.
1 ball, no strikes. Nick didn't get that even count. And 1-2. Only Tyler Clippard has more appearances in the big leagues since 2010 than Matt Belisle. And he's trying to tune up for postseason play. 2 balls, 2 strikes. .368 appearances for Matt coming into 2015. And 33 more this year. Full count.
Keep an eye on AJ and how much he's able to cross over and go here on this 3-2 count.
There he goes.
That's not a bad thing, having to do that again.
Really?
No, I don't think so. I think kind of loosen it up a little bit.
Brzezinski hit on the left kneecap, stays in the game. that miss to Swisher. A hit batsman and a walk. That comes with 2 outs. And Andrelton Simmons is on his way. Andrelton has a single and a strikeout tonight. He's got hits in 19 of his last 23 games. And now a 9-game hitting streak. Slow roller out toward Kozma. He'll flip to second in time, and that'll retire the side. We'll see if A.J. Pierzynski can stay in the game. He's having a chat or two with a couple of the Cardinals on their dugout bench. Braves lead it 2-0. That ball's driven down the line and left. Did he get enough? At the track, at the wall, it's gone. Daniel Castro. He drives that one to right field. Moss can't get that. That's going to bounce high off the fence. Time for our CPI Security game summary as we head to inning number 6.
Good work by all the Braves up and down the lineup, and especially Julio Teheran. All these A's on caps continue to be a good sign for the Braves here at home. They've won 5 of their last 6 games here at Turner Field to draw to 500 for the year at Turner Field. 39-39 going into the last 3 games.
Yeah, be a nice accomplishment to finish above 500 at home. Braves will have to take the series against the Cardinals to do that, and they're off to a good start tonight. As is Julio, who has struck out 5 in his first 5 innings tonight, and he scattered 4 hits.
I thought LeBarnway was coming out to catch.
When he came out to warm up, Julio, AJ shooed him off and is back behind the plate. I saw AJ come around third after the final out of the Braves 5th inning, and he was chirping with the Cardinals in their dugout and was chirping at Matt Belisle as he made his way to the dugout.
Keep in mind he played with these guys last year.
Right.
Woo.
1-2 for Greg Garcia, who doubled in the first. And there's Belisle. Didn't even look at him.
Yeah, he might have said something. He might have said sorry about that.
Two balls, 2 strikes. In the air toward right center. Maben on the run. Nearly overran it. And boy, you can see how slippery the turf was. He looked like an ice skater. Tried to slam on the brakes, and he wasn't real sure of the footing. But he made the play, 1 out.
was the athlete everybody used to call Skates? Who was that?
Lonnie Smith.
Oh, of course.
Lonnie Smith. As Randall Grichuk is the hitter, he's 0 for 2 with a strikeout. And nothing in 1.
Adam Wainwright is in their pen, loosening up. It was his landing foot Achilles that he tore.
He was hitting at the time, right?
Yes, in Milwaukee. Popped up, didn't know the ball was in play, and then when he looked up, he stuck his left foot back out like to plant to take off, and when he did, tore it.
I remember us talking about Adams' injury at the time and how crippling a blow we thought that would be for the Cardinals. It hasn't proven to be. But everybody said, well, I guess we'll see Adam Wainwright in 2016.
Right.
That ball hung up for Grichuk, and he didn't miss it. That's headed for the gap and up against the wall. He's on his way to second and is going to stop there. Boy, he's a smooth base runner, isn't he?
He's a solid player. Good looking player, and he had a good series against the Braves in St. Louis. Lays that bat back a little bit, but then as he gets ready to swing, it comes back up into a more normal hitting position, and he got a cookie to pick on there.
And what a nice deal for the Cardinals. They got Peter Borges and Randall Grichuk for David Freese, former Cardinal third baseman, and right-handed pitcher Fernando Salas. Grichuk, a former first-round pick. It was by the Angels, and by Angels rule, he had to have been signed by Tom Kochman.
Right.
Can't confirm that. Pretty good chance.
Probably so.
Here's Adams. And that's up and away. Speaking of the Angels, they're in Texas tonight. They still have hopes in the West, but they're running out of time. Texas has clinched a playoff spot. They have not yet clinched the AL West. Well, I take that back. The Angels are eliminated from the division scenario. Their hope is in the wild card.
Are they really?
Yeah, they're 4 out.
Oh, okay.
In the AL West, but the Angels are 1 game behind Houston. Minnesota 1 game behind Houston.
And both of those teams are tied 1-1 in their respective games. Minnesota's at home at Kansas City.
By the way, Chris Medlin pitched great again. I believe it was yesterday for the Royals. Good for him. He's got 6 wins for the Royals.
He's got to be a postseason factor, I would think.
Royals and Jays identical records. Home field advantage for the AL playoffs will be decided between those 2 teams. Toronto winning in Tampa Bay tonight 8-4.
Pirates are coming back. They trail 4-0. It's 4-3. I think that's the 6th inning. When the Braves move into SunTrust Park, I want big numbers.
Yeah.
You know, when those out of town scoreboard think big numbers.
2 balls, 2 strikes. We can get you the Gene Rayburn cue cards if you want them.
Yeah, that'd be good. Or Brett Summers glasses that were like Coke bottles.
Nothing that was worse than Wrigley Field. Nothing. When they put the line scores up there,
Yeah.
I mean, you're leaning forward, you're squinting, and you still have no shot.
Yeah, that's always funny. You're a quarter of a mile away, but you lean forward 2 feet. You think that'll make a difference.
Yes, it did. Broken bat.
Heads up, folks.
And that one's pinwheeling over the Braves dugout into the stands. Fans had a beat on that.
Well, they only got a piece of it. They didn't get the whole bat.
And ironically enough, a fan from Woodstock.
Wow. How crazy is that?
New bat for Adams. And a full count. Julio just blew it right on by at 93. Well, that confidence muscle is amazing to see, isn't it?
Got out of that bases loaded, no out jam last inning. Gave up another 1 out double here, but comes right back to get Adams with some good gas. Yes, it is.
Julio's a different guy, and trying to win for the 11th time in his final start. Here's Reynolds. High fastballs have erased him. Ball 1.
AJ appears to be able to get into his catcher's crouch without any difficulty. Reynolds hit a big home run in Pittsburgh the other night in that scoreless game that went to what, the 8th inning, scoreless, and then the Pirates outfield botched a base hit that allowed a run to score all the way from first. Reynolds came up shortly thereafter and hit a 2-run homer to give him a little breathing room.
That's a game the Pirates are kicking themselves over. They had 12 or 13 runner and scoring position chances, couldn't get a big hit. And there's a line drive right at Maben, who makes the sliding catch. And that retires the side. Julio Teheran mops his brow as he mops up the Cardinals in the 6th and leads 2-0. Six strikeouts, 5 hits, no runs. And as we showed you earlier tonight, it is indeed a fine finish to 15 for the Braves right-hander.
Let's hope he can make it number 11 tonight. He'll leave with the lead as Jace Peterson's going to pinch hit for him, but he leads the Braves in quality starts and the most since 2012. And also an outstanding home record again. And he'll give way to Jace Peterson, who's going to face Adam Wainwright, who's out there for his 2nd outing.
This is a critically important appearance for the Cardinals and for Wainwright, who tore his Achilles April 25th and appeared Wednesday against the Pirates.
And he was off to an awesome start. Gave up a double and a single in that appearance at Pittsburgh.
And a quick meeting on the mound with Wainwright and his young catcher. Well, Julio Teheran out of the ball game now. The 4th straight great outing by the Braves pitching staff.
Yeah.
6 innings, no runs for Teheran. Weber, 7 innings, 1 run last night. Williams Perez, 6 shutout innings against the Nationals. And Matt Whistler, 1 run in his 7-inning stint. You talk about the need to see progress and the hope that there'd be some steps forward. I'd say all 4 of those guys have done exactly that.
No question.
And Wainwright off to a flying 2-strike start for Jace Peterson.
Good curveball. A lot of the question marks are, can he field his position? It's his landing foot. Will he be able to get over to first base and cover first if he needs to? He was not challenged that way in Pittsburgh.
Knowing that about Wainwright, would that be one of those unwritten rules that would it be fair game to lay a bunt down against him here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're out there competing, and so is the hitter.
Won't happen with 2 strikes for Peterson. Got Michael Bourne waiting on deck.
Having trouble seeing the signs. Tartanella putting some chalk on his fingers. He didn't know to dress up his fingernails.
Still can't see it. Might want to go the A.J. Brzezinski route and just put him on the chest protector. Fly ball left and playable for Grichuk. He's there. 1 out.
Well, there are a lot of magnifying glasses on Adam Wainwright right now, and will be again Sunday if he has the opportunity to pitch then, because this isn't much of a glimpse. They're just trying to see what's going on. I'm talking about the manager, Derek Lilliquist, also the pitching coach, front office.
Now here's a question: as that ball's bobbled, if Wainwright gets out of this inning and throws 8 or 9 pitches, is that enough of a workload to get a great idea of what he's got? Do you send him out for a 2nd inning tonight? He's got 2 outs on 5 pitches all of a sudden.
I know what he would say.
Right.
It's a matter of whether or not Mike Matheny wants to see another inning, and who's up.
Well, if
but
he gets
Adams stalking around that mound like a man possessed, like he couldn't wait to get out there, and that's an understatement. 88 slider. He had a 92, 93 fastball.
One ball, 1 strike. Perfect pitch.
Yeah, one would expect command to be an issue, wouldn't you? Because you can't help but think about or favor that left foot as you land, and it might alter the way you pitch into that foot. He's got a good hook. And throwing strikes so far. He was showing me tonight he was doing all kinds of calf raises and everything that he said he couldn't do 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago he wasn't able to do those things, and he said it's really come around.
Ground ball toward third. Ball bobbled, and Castro's going to reach with 2 outs. That may not be a bad thing. It'll give Wainwright a few extra pitches. That'll be an error on Reynolds. Castro's aboard for a 3rd time. Braves still up 2-0.
Hot potato.
And while the Cardinals don't want to see the error by Reynolds, to your point about who's coming up, now you're going to see Wainwright against one of the best hitters in our league. This is a playoff-like at bat for Wainwright.
That's a different challenge.
Markakis singled and scored in the Braves' 3rd inning. That's when both runs came across. And a respect-filled pitch from Wainwright is called a strike. 0-1. Markakis trailing D. Gordon and A.J. Pollock on the hit charts in the National League. And facing a man whose ERA is the best among all active pitchers who've pitched at least 1,500 major league innings. Adam Wainwright, 3.01 career ERA.
Well, he missed 2011 for Tommy John. Went 14-13 the next year, 19-9 in 2013, and last year was 20-9 with a 2.38 ERA and didn't win the Cy Young Award.
He hung that pitch. Markakis ripped it, but right to the second baseman Garcia, and that'll retire the side. Great to see Adam Wainwright back in a major league pitching staff. 2-0 Atlanta. As we pink out Turner Field in the fight against breast cancer, the first 10,000 guests through the gates will get a pink foam tomahawk presented by Wellstar. For more information on pinking out Turner Field, go to braves.com/BC awareness. 2-0 Braves. We are through 6 tonight in Atlanta. Time for our AT&T Uverse trivia question, a question submitted by our own Jerry Krause tonight. On this date in 1974, Henry Aaron hit his final home run with the Braves. Off which former Cardinal pitcher did he hit his first home run? Oh, I know this.
What year was that?
I want to say 54.
Sounds right. 53 or 54, maybe 55.
It's not Ray Sadecki. It's not Harry Brackeen. It's not Ron Taylor.
You're the Cardinal guy.
It's on the tip of my tongue. So we'll have some time to think about that one.
It's not Harry the Big Cat.
Burkeen? No, not Johnny Mize.
Okay.
I mean, not Johnny Mize. Not Dizzy Dean. Not Bob Gibson. Well, they've had some good ones in St. Louis, haven't they? They've had 10 pitchers with multiple 20-win seasons in Cardinal annals. As Matt Marksberry faces Brandon Moss. Adam Wainwright, the latest to join that exclusive list. Moss has had a good night tonight for the Cardinals. 2 hits. Braves bullpen's done a nice job so far this month. 2 innings of 1 hit ball. A couple of runs, but they were unearned runs. And 1 and 2 for Moss from Marksberry, and that missed.
Well, this is where he's been at his best, against left-handed hitting.
Come on, Matt, don't lose him. 3 and 2.
That may have been why Julio had that towel over his head. He didn't want to come out. Hadn't thrown that many pitches, but he certainly had a good night.
And he did lose him. Leadoff walk to Moss. Well, this start, a milestone start for Julio. 200 2/3 innings. His final tally this year. And Marksberry walks the first man he sees, a left-hander, and he will be taken down by Freddie Gonzalez.
Both John Hart and John Coppolella talking about one of the first things they'll try to address this winter to improve the ball club is the bullpen. Part of that goes to walks and home runs.
Marksberry walks the first man he is assigned. His night comes to a close. We'll tell you about the new Braves pitcher in a moment.
Let's do this. And the Georgia Lottery.
Two nothing Atlanta. Cardinals have their leadoff man on here in the 7th inning. And Braves fans, are you on the A-list? Become a 2016 A-list member today and get exclusive benefits customized for your unique needs. SunTrust Park seating priority is still being given to current A-list members, so become one today and get closer to getting your seats for SunTrust Park in 2017. Go to Braves.com/A-list and join the list.
We need to get some pictures, some updated pictures of SunTrust Park for tomorrow's broadcast.
That's a good call. You had mentioned that you drove by the other day and have seen tremendous progress.
Yeah, the big girders, big steel framework for the center field scoreboard is up. That's a good sign. I don't know if foul poles are up or not.
Got time for that.
We used to drive by. We'd leave the tunnel from the old ballpark to go to the airport, and this one was under construction. Right. And without fail, Steve Bedrosian said, "Well, I don't see the foul poles yet." Every time.
Yeah. This is Peter Borges, another former Angel acquired by the Cardinals. Speedy center fielder. He's played a lot. Hasn't gotten on base a lot. Swing and a miss. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Barawa did a nice job last night. He was the man that got the strikeout, the 2 ground balls, and the Braves threw the ball around the infield that gave the Nationals a couple of runs. As they extended what was then a 1-0 lead to 3-0, and that was the final score. Nationals behind Steven Strasburg salvaged 1 game out of 3 against the Braves in the series. Swing and a miss. First batter retired by Barawa. That's always encouraging. 1 on, 1 out. Pete Kozma is the scheduled hitter. He's the shortstop and hitting 8th.
Borges is one of those luxury weapons in the postseason for a manager. Outstanding defender in center field, can really go get him, and a guy who can pinch run. And if he happens to put the ball in play, he's got a chance to beat it out. But his speed is a weapon that Mike Matheny might choose to keep on the roster just to pick and choose his spots for him.
Pinch runner and defensive replacement if you got to go get Holiday out of the game.
Yeah.
For example. 1 ball, no strikes for Kozma, who's lined out and walked. Cardinals a 100-win team. 9th time in St. Louis history. The Redbirds have won 100 games or more. Of those 4 100-win seasons, Cardinals won the World Series 4 times. 1931, 42, 44, and 67.
Well, that guy's got to be considered a candidate for Manager of the Year also.
All the injuries they've had to deal with, no question. And to hold off the Cubs and Pirates in the Central. Well, they have such a great pipeline. Much like the Braves are rebuilding and have had in their history. There's the Cardinal way and there is the Braves way. In many ways, they're very similar. You draft them, you develop them, you teach them how to play, and you bring them to the big leagues and give them a chance to shine. And Mike Matheny in the playoffs 4 consecutive years as the Cardinals skipper. Bouncing ball toward third. There's that throw to second. It was a good one. Peg to first. Safe. Kozma beat the wrap. Castro did all he could to turn it quickly. Adonis made a strong on-target throw to second for the force out. And the inning stays alive for St. Louis for the moment.
Just beat it.
Here's Travis Tartamella.
95 on that pitch from Barawa.
That was 96 and over the outside corner. Runner at first took off. Dan never made. Pete Kozma stop. That was an easy stolen base. He took second standing up.
That was an easy one.
Now a hit means a run if Tartamella can provide the hit.
And you can understand why he's in the ballgame, Tartamella, because they want to get him a few more at bats in case they decide to keep Molina and he becomes the third catcher. He needs some at bats. Wouldn't be surprised to see him start a game Saturday or Sunday.
Deuce is wild for him. And a roller hit toward Garcia. He'll charge. He'll double clutch. He'll throw to first in time, and that will retire the side. Couple of good plays by Adonis Garcia. Time to stretch in Atlanta. The Braves are shutting out the Cardinals tonight. Pitch to Beauty tonight. And while we have a moment, let's check out our SunTrust save of the game.
Bases loaded, nobody out. Comebacker from the pinch hitter, John Jay. So the Braves go 1-2-3 for that double play. And then a swing and a miss to strike out. The third out of the inning. That was Tommy Pham. Great job by Julio.
Cardinals made a deal before the deadline. They got the former Florida Marlins or Miami Marlins closer Steve Cishek. And a change of scenery has done Cishek a world of good. Look at those eye-popping numbers.
Yeah, he got off to a horrible start with the fish. Came available. Cardinals picked him up and have helped him get his feet back under him. Submariner, 90-93, throws hard, good slider. Here are the numbers on their bullpen, which coincide with their starters. Best ERA among starters, second best ERA among National League bullpens, most saves, best percentage, and the fewest home runs allowed. Their pitching staff has been tremendous.
And a strike to Garcia. 0-1 for Adonis, who's 1 for 3 in the game. To third. Nice pick by Reynolds, and a throw to first in time. One man down. Different responsibilities for Cishek with the Cardinals as opposed to the Marlins, where he closed and then pitched in the 8th inning. He's going to be a 7th, 8th inning guy in St. Louis because of Trevor Rosenthal.
And they've got a good collection of guys for the setup role. They've got left-hander Kevin Segrist. They've got Cishek, obviously, and they got Randy Choate, who's a left-handed specialist, getting lefties out. Seth Maness has been in a lot of games. They've got a good, solid group that all know their role and could be used in anywhere from the 6th, 7th, or 8th. as they try to get to Rosenthal if they've got the lead.
Yeah, Rosenthal set the new Cardinal single season saves record. A record that was held by Lee Smith and Jason Isringhausen. He is the real deal at the end of the ball game. 48 saves in 51 tries this year.
Oh, not his foot. Fouled that one off his foot after getting hit in the knee earlier. He doesn't know which leg to limp on. Shin, not the foot.
Left knee, right shin. And Tartamella knows all about that pain. He gave AJ a few extra seconds to get himself back together. And he's down on strikes. 91-mile-an-hour fastball. Brzezinski chased it. He's out number 2.
It's kind of hard to have your heart in that at bat. Behind 0-2, and your left knee hurts and your right shin now hurts.
You and I have talked about that before. I don't know how y'all did that as hitters, or how they do it. Foul a 92-mile-an-hour pitch off an unprotected part of your body, and you stay in the game. Amazing. Here's Maben. Cameron's 0 for 3. A couple of flyouts and a strikeout tonight.
Well, that's why all those shin guards came along.
I don't remember who the first guy was to wear the ankle guard like Swisher's. Remember Steve Yeager had the protective device under his catcher's mask.
Yeah, the throat guard.
The throat guard. I can't remember who.
The ones that I remember, the guys that wore them.
That one's a thing of beauty over Adams' glove and in the right field for a hit. Check swing, and Maben rewarded with an 0-2 hit.
The ones I remember were almost ankle to knee. They were real long, almost an abbreviated catcher's shin guard that some people started wearing, and then they were so hard to keep on your leg. If you hit a double, for example, they're just flopping all over the place and tripping you. So they had to come up with something better. Cameron will take that hit.
You bet. That's a 6-gamer for Maben. And here's Swisher, who's walked twice and flied out once.
Hey, many thanks to our compatriots up here today for feeding us.
Yeah.
Drew Jenkins and his smoked pork. That was awesome. Thanks for bringing that, Drew. Chocolate cream pie from Kathy Poole, homemade. Somebody brought the potato chips. I don't know who did that.
That was Val Burrell brought the potato chips. Buns, the green tea.
Green tea.
Yep.
Right.
All the Triscuits, which
it was.
By the way, you know why Tom Glevin never talks?
Yeah.
He's always eating Triscuits up here.
If he were here tonight, he'd go hungry because he ate them all.
I mean, he's got a box a night habit up here.
Mm-hmm.
So this off season, if you see Tom, get him a box of Triscuits or something. 1 ball, no strikes. Pop fly foul off the bat of Swisher. Well, he is an older man, though. He does need the fiber, I'm guessing. So
yeah. I don't really think I should answer that or address that. But thanks, everybody. It's the best meal we've had in a week since we've been home.
1 ball, 1 strike. And on a play foul, it's 1-2. Cardinals will have the top of their order up in the 8th inning. They have but 5 hits tonight.
4 doubles.
Great chance with the bases loaded in the 5th inning, but Tehran got a pitcher to catcher to first double play and a strikeout to get out of trouble. And that one came buzzing inside and almost hit Nick. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Nick's got a good eye. He's drawn a lot of walks.
Cardinals gave up Kyle Barraclough for Steve Cishek. Saw Barraclough with the Marlins. He's got a live arm. Steve, a much more experienced pitcher. And he just walked Swisher. So a hit and a base on balls. He was ahead of Cameron 0-2. Lost him. Now he's got 2 on for Andrelton Simmons with 2 outs. The Cardinal infield will meet on the mound.
What'd you think of Wainwright?
Looked great to me. Good velocity, good command of his breaking ball. Didn't need a ton of pitches. Personally, I'm a fan of his. I'd like to see him throw another inning. And assuming we'll get that chance on Sunday. But yeah, what a weapon for Mike Matheny to have Adam Wainwright in any capacity in postseason play. What did you think?
I thought he looked good too. I didn't see any signs of any reason to hold him back. He still hasn't had to cover first,
right?
So we haven't had a chance to judge that. But I know he'll be looking forward to his next opportunity, which might come Sunday.
No balls at a strike for Andrelton Simmons. I've talked to managers and pitching coaches, and I know you have about this too. The one thing they really treasure going into the playoffs is playoff experience.
Yes.
Guys who have been there before. And that certainly applies to Wainwright. Oh, 0-2. And Simmons couldn't check his swing, and he's retired. Cishek had some 2-out trouble, but Braves can't add an extra run. We're off to the 8th inning. After 7 complete, and fans, a reminder for you: non-stop action, heart-pounding excitement, historic performances. Don't miss the 2015 postseason beginning October 6th. Go to MLB.com/postseason for a full schedule. Changes for the Braves. Freddie Freeman checks in. He's at first base. Across the diamond, Pedro Ciriaco is checked in to play third. And Edwin Jackson is on the mound.
Edwin's getting a lot of work, mostly because the Braves have had some leads or tied late in the ball game. That last road trip, he was in 3 of the 6 games. He was in 2 of the 3 games against Washington. He's picked up 3 holds and 1 win in his last 5 outings.
This is why he is a valuable piece of your pitching staff. Rubber arm. I mean, he can pitch 4 times a week if you need him to, and not just in 1 week. He could do that multiple times in a calendar month for you. And he's got the top of the Redbirds order in the 8th. Pham, Garcia, and Grichuk are coming up. And Edwin missed low. 1 ball, no strikes. Those big AL games still tied at 1-1. Royals and Twins in the bottom of the 7th in Minneapolis. Angels, Rangers in Texas, top 7. Here it's 2-0 Atlanta. And Pham pops one up to Freddie Freeman. He's got it. Good start for Edwin. Pham's 0 for 4, 1 down.
Cincinnati and the Pirates tied at 4 in the 8th, and the Cubs have added to their lead 5-0 behind Jake Arrieta throwing another shutout. They're in the 6th in Milwaukee.
Is he going to win the Cy Young?
In my book, he is.
Yeah.
And he is scheduled to start that wild card game by pitching tonight.
That should be a doozy. Arrieta and Garrett Cole are the likely starters in the 1-game playoff, either in Pittsburgh or at Wrigley Field, depending on the outcome of what's left on the schedule for the Cardinals or the Cubs and Pirates. Here's Garcia. He takes a strike. Even count for Greg, who doubled in the 1st inning.
Although Liriano was scheduled to pitch tonight for Pittsburgh, we'll find out if he actually made the start, because the Reds jumped on somebody for 4 runs early. And Burnett scheduled to pitch tomorrow for Pittsburgh.
Well, there were some after the Pirates played the Cubs, and as untouchable as Liriano was, people said, why not start Liriano against Chicago, neutralize Rizzo and Schwarber? And if you win that game, then you've got Garrett Cole ready to go in game 1. I mean, those are all the things that.
I mean, that goes into the Cubs thinking too about holding Arrieta back. But you got to, maybe starting John Lester in the wild card game, so you got Arrieta for game 1. But game 1 doesn't come if you don't win the wild card.
Right. 3 balls and a strike, and that one's outside. That's why a manager will tell you, I want to win today. I'll worry about tomorrow.
Right.
So Garcia walks. That brings Grichuk up. He represents the tying run, and he doubled last time up. This goes back to what Joe said a moment ago. Far too many walks by the Braves relief corps in 2015, something that will be addressed. You heard John Campolella say the Braves will be very aggressively searching for bullpen upgrades next season, either from within the organization or via free agency or trade. One of those names from within the organization will be scratched off. Paco Rodriguez, whom the Dodgers traded to the Braves in the Jim Johnson, Luis Avilan,
Oliveira
deal. Tommy John surgery. He's lost for next season. The Braves do have Chris Withrow, who we were told was playing catch and throwing 96 down in Orlando right now as he's coming back. So we'll see if he's a potential answer in relief next year. 0-2 for Grichuk. Jackson just carved him up. 3 pitches, sits him down. 2 away.
Chip, the reason those walks and home runs are so large in front of us in terms of the way things went to the bullpen this year is that the Braves didn't score a ton of runs. So late in the ball game, if they were close and had a chance to win, if the starting pitching gave them a chance to win, or if they had a lead, all of a sudden there's a walk, tying run comes to the plate, home run, or a couple of walks and a double, something like that. It was that those leads were so tenuous to begin with. Any extra free base runners really became magnified. And it just seemed to happen over and over again.
Especially in August and September. ERA for the Braves pen in August 6.72, 88 innings, 44 walks to go along with 105 hits. So that's
88 innings and 44 walks.
So roughly 150 base runners just on hits and walks in 88 innings.
Yeah,
that's 2 an inning for your
right.
relief corps. In September, a 5.30 ERA, and in those 2 months, 27 home runs.
And on those occasions where they were coming in and inheriting runners,
correct,
and compounding a bad inning or a scary inning, making it worse. All those things add up to a need to address it.
1-2 for Adams, and that's out of play, foul. It's not coincidental that those numbers started to pile up after Jason Grilli tore his Achilles, and after the trade of Jim Johnson and Luis Avilan to the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Well, I hope Jason was watching tonight, because if he needed any incentive at all, and he probably didn't, but to see Adam Wainwright already back pitching, that ought to make him feel pretty good.
High fly ball center and playable for Maben. He comes in. He's got it. And Edwin Jackson, a nice job in relief. He continues to sparkle in the latter days of the season. Cardinals are out in the 8th. Braves still lead it by 2. Season as the Angels fight for a playoff spot against the AL West leading Rangers, or the Royals fight to secure the league's best record against a Twins team looking to keep its playoff hopes alive. Coverage starts tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern, only on Fox and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Check your local listings for the game in your area. All right, trivia time. This is the Jerry Krause special tonight. Our AT&T Uverse question. This date in 1974, Hank Aaron hit his final homer with the Braves. Henry Aaron hit his first home run off a Cardinal. Do you know who the pitcher's name is?
I don't. And I'm living in the 60s era, like Ray Washburn and Sadecki. So Kurt Simmons.
That's a good guess. I'm going to say Ray Sadecki. As Freddie Freeman looks inside at ball 1 from Randy Choate, who's on to pitch for the Redbirds. And the answer to that question is Vic Raschi was the man. 1954 was the right year, April 23rd. So Jerry Krause with a great question tonight.
Took Jerry to snap your string.
Yep. Vic Raschi also gave up Henry Aaron's first big league hit. That was on April 15th of that year.
Randy Choate, I mentioned he's a left-handed specialist. Well, get this, 70 games, and he's pitched 27 innings. That's collecting a third at a time. Coming in, tough spot, get a lefty out. You can see his arm angle is awfully tough. There's 5 walks.
He needs an endorsement for WD-40. Get him up in the bullpen, just spray it on that rusty left arm. Get that baby loose and send him out there. How many innings? How many games?
70 games.
Okay.
27 innings. Tops out at 85, and Freddie didn't even care. If that wasn't his best heater, he hit him with a slider, which tops out at 75.
There are cars driving by this stadium right now going faster than that pitch. That was 73 miles an hour.
Well, there were probably people in the dugout throwing sunflower seeds that hurt worse than that.
Wow. So Freeman hit by a pitch, and Michael Bourne the batter, and rolls one foul and out of play.
Randy Choate is now 40 years old, born in San Antonio. Last year he was in 61 games and threw 36 innings. Only 9 times, Drew says, out of his 70 appearances did he throw an inning or more.
So truly a specialist.
Yeah.
But come playoff time, you can get the lefties out. That is very valuable. And the regular season numbers for Choate, well, not real good. Lefties are hitting .268 against him.
No kidding.
Only 3 walks. And the righties hitting .333 against Randy Choate. 1-2 for Michael Bourne. Trying to protect a 10-game hitting streak. He's 0 for 3 tonight. And that just missed. Pretty close pitch. Choate has been in the playoffs quite a bit in his big league career. He's pitched in the division series in 4 seasons. 3 seasons in the LCS with a .270 ERA. He's pitched in 2 separate World Series with the Yankees against Arizona, the Cardinals against Boston. 6 games, a 2.08 ERA in World Series play. And he just got Michael Bourne, who's upset about missing that pitch. And that'll end his hitting streak at 10 games. 1 on, 1 out.
And Matheny out to get him.
So Choate hit Freeman with a pitch. He struck out Michael Bourne. And the Cardinals go ever deeper into their bullpen. Braves 2, St. Louis nothing.
is presented by Georgia Power and your local Toyota dealers. Let's go places.
The Braves lead by 2, looking for a little more here in the bottom of the 8th inning. And Daniel Castro's coming up. He's provided our Toyota key play of the game.
Got that cutter and turned it and hit it in the seats. Second homer and put the Braves on top.
Now he's got to face the hard-throwing Jonathan Broxton, the former Dodger, former Brewer, and Georgia native.
Yeah, out of Waynesboro, Georgia. And a big man, 6'4", 300 pounds.
And fair down the right field line. Freddie around second, on his way to third. He's going to get waved. Here comes Freddie. Throw is dropped at second base, and all the way around to third is Castro. It's 3-0. That little guy is something. He has a knack for putting the bat on the ball, and when he does, good things happen. He's reached base 4 times tonight, and that's a big insurance run.
And again, something inside, but he wasn't trying to pull the ball. He was smart. Guy at first base, he's trying to go to right field. It wasn't like the swing that was inside that he hit out of the park. This time he's trying to hit the ball to right field through that hole, and instead hits it down the line.
It's a double and an RBI. Moss had a little trouble getting to the ball. He had a long run, and then Garcia couldn't handle the relay throw. Trying to make the catch at his shoe tops. So the infield comes in for Markakis. 3-0 Atlanta. And way high, ball 1.
So was there an error charge? If there's no error charged, I don't understand why it's just a double.
There was no error charged.
That ought to be a triple.
Want to know for Nick. And Broxton got that in for a strike. It's even.
Can't penalize Daniels just because their relay wasn't a good one, unless you charge an error.
That one might be subject to change. As it stands, though, a 3-hit game for Castro. Knee-high strike. Broxton came over at the deadline from the Brewers. He has not given up a run in 19 of his 25 games in a Cardinal uniform. And the run that scored tonight belongs to Randy Choate. Castro's his responsibility. And now the 1-2 pitch is high, 2-2.
When Broxton first came in the league with the Dodgers, he was throwing close to 100 miles an hour. He's dropped a little bit, but not that much. 92 to 96. Hard slider that can sometimes reach 90.
That one at 92 and fouled away.
When you start thinking about Wainwright, whether or not you're going to keep him on your postseason roster, these are the guys that are also vying for that position and trying to show that they deserve a spot on there.
And a base hit the other way by Markakis. That'll score Castro. Beautiful piece of hitting from Markakis. Another multi-hit game for Nick. It's a 4-0 score.
High breaking ball, and as we have seen time and again, somebody leaves a ball out over the plate, out away from him. Nick will bang it through the left side.
52nd RBI from Markakis. And now Todd Cunningham grabs a bat. He'll hit for Edwin Jackson, and that one's grounded towards second. There's 1, there's 2, And that'll retire the side. A productive Atlanta eighth that started with Freddie Freeman being hit by a pitch. A double and a single later means it's 4-0 as we go to the ninth. And even up the season series at a game apiece. Big night for Nick Markakis, his 52nd multi-hit game.
He's in some really good company with some guys that have big averages, especially D. Gordon with a chance to win the batting title. That multi-hit game thing is so strong, so positive. Ryan LaBarnway finally able to kick AJ to the curb so he could come in and catch and be a healthy guy back there.
And Arodys Vizcaino will come on and try to finish things off. He's been a great find for the Braves in the late innings. And Arbuckle tells us in his last 8 games, Vizcaino's 5 for 5 in saves, 11 strikeouts, and just 6 hits. It's not a save situation. The lead's too big for him. First pitch by Mark Reynolds popped up. Freeman long run, foul ground near the tarp. Might have a play, and he does. 1 pitch, 1 out.
Good play by Freddie getting to the tarp so that he knew exactly how much room he had. Got some good numbers there on Vizcaino though too on his last several outings, right?
Yeah, I mean, just perfect. 5 for 5 in saves. Pitching so confidently. And again, in a season that's been very disappointing as far as the record is concerned, Vizcaino's got to be considered one of the bright spots for the Braves. Great arm. He's learned how to harness his control, Joe. He doesn't have to throw 100 every time.
No, that's wonderful. Edwin Jackson with another hold tonight. Barawa gets a hold. Good work.
And it all started with Julio Teheran's 6 innings of 5-hit shutout ball. And he made some big pitches when he needed to. In the 5th inning, bases loaded, nobody out, and he got out of it. Barnway held that one a moment. Moss took it. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Blackie and Miller tomorrow night. Hope you'll join us. Second game of our series with the Cardinals. Tonight's game well attended, 24,481. And there will be post-game fireworks for the final time in regular season play here tonight. Fan Appreciation Weekend continues. Mystery Gate giveaways all weekend long. And Braves hopeful Shelby Miller will get some run support and pitch his last game and earn a win against the Cardinals. And Moss walks with 1 out. Colton Wong is going to come on and pinch hit.
He was a first-round pick. He's been an everyday guy. 149th, his 149th game right here. 264, 11 homers, 28 doubles, 15 swipes. Solid year. Has made 17 errors, however, at second base.
That's the most on their club. Vizcaino, triple digits with that pitch. He's a little angry after walking Moss. No balls, 2 strikes. 10:30 in Atlanta. And that one slashed down the left field line and into the corner, foul. 0-2. Colton was late. That was a 101-mile-an-hour pitch. And effortless. If the key to building your bullpen is working from the back end forward, the Braves have to feel pretty good about having Vizcaino.
Yeah, that's a head start almost.
And assuming that Jason Grilli can do what Adam Wainwright has done and come back and pitch effectively, that's 2 guys that can pitch 8th or 9th inning in interchangeable fashion. Two balls, 2 strikes.
Yeah, the Braves need Jason back, not just for his ability, but for his influence that he can wield on the younger guys. And as you and Tom have suggested and did over the last couple of nights visiting with the executives, the need for a, for lack of a better term, a bell cow type veteran starting pitcher to kind of counsel these young guys too.
That one popped away from Lavarne Way. He couldn't corral it. Now all of a sudden Vizcaino is having trouble throwing strikes. Got ahead of Wong 0-2, a couple of foul balls, and now 3 out of the strike zone. And a runner at second, 1 out, 3 balls, 2 strikes. Pete Kozma's the next scheduled Cardinal hitter.
I'm with you though, Chip, on this turn through the rotation. The 3 kids pitching perhaps some of their, I think, their best starts of the year in some ways. Finishing on a good note. The old man Julio Teheran pitching a good game tonight. Shutout ball for 6 innings.
That's line to first. Freeman with a bullet to Simmons. It was always around the bag on a play like that. Moss back safely though, 2 outs.
Yeah, and Freddie knows that too. The only thing that would round it out and make it perfect is another win tomorrow and a great performance, and this time from Shelby Miller. If the Braves can get him some runs, that would be outstanding. Get that off his, that monkey off his back before the postseason or the offseason begins.
So Kozma, the final hope for the Cardinals. 2 outs, runner aboard in the 9th. And a strike. Braves got 2 runs in the 3rd inning. A Castro homer. Markakis came around to score on an A.J. Pierzynski hit. And 2 in the 8th. Right now, Vizcaino's begun to paint again.
Houston and the Pirates go to the 10th. Excuse me, Cincinnati and the Pirates go to the 10th. Houston has scored 5 early against Arizona.
0-2. Ball game over. Vizcaino strikes out Cosma looking. And the Braves shut out the Cardinals. 4-0 is your final score. The Braves earn their 8th shutout win of the season. The Cardinals are shut out for the 13th time, believe it or not. Daniel Castro had a big game. So did Nick Markakis. So did Julio Teheran and the Braves pitching staff. Nice way to kick off the final weekend of regular season play. A 4-0 win over the 100-win St. Louis Cardinals.